Sourcing comes down to knowing your inventory, what's working, what's not working. BeCool is a great tool for that.
Low price or bring BeCool. The sales do have a significant spike. The UI that you guys have is really simple and easy to use.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have two financial whizzes here to help us understand the best strategies for managing your Amazon business. They're the founders of FBA Profits, which is a coaching platform, and they also provide online arbitrage lead lists through Pro ASINs, which they're also the co-founders. And they also offer prep and pack services through West Coast FBA Prep and Pack Services, both for seven-figures Amazon sellers and Amazon coaches. Let's welcome Zuby and Leland from the FBA Profits.
Hey, Samuel.
Thanks, Samuel.
Hi, guys. So just to help our audience know a little bit more about you and some background, why did you start your Amazon business? And how did you start your Amazon business to help us understand where you're coming from?
I'll start and then I'll let Leland go. As I jumped into Amazon before Leland did, my wife actually was the catalyst for our Amazon business. She started it as a sort of a side hustle for herself. I had another business that I was managing at the time. And as she was learning the process, and she started with retail arbitrage, and as she bringing products into the house, into the living room, into our garage, and as she was going through the process, I started paying attention and sort of looking over her shoulder. And the more I delved into it, the greater of an opportunity I saw, and just sort of fell in love with the process. So within a few months after she started, I sold my other businesses and pretty much head first into Amazon. It was for about a year, all I did was just learn. It was wake up in the morning, early in the morning, do the sort of the self-development stuff, and then jump into Amazon, and then do Amazon all the way through till late at night, and then go to sleep. And it took that kind of dedication. We started with retail arbitrage, expanded it into online arbitrage, and then wholesale. But because of that, we were able to realize seven-figure sales in our first 12 months. And as that grew, our house kind of couldn't sustain our shipments. When the first truck came to deliver a couple of pallets outside my garage, I figured it was time to get a warehouse.
You needed some more space.
Yeah, we definitely needed more space. So I got a warehouse for ourselves. And then as this was late 18, early 19, and that's Leland and I have been friends. Our wives have been friends. Him and I have been friends for almost a decade now. So we started talking, and Leland his background is in computers and software and whatnot. So we started talking about how we can maximize our ability to find profitable product through online arbitrage. And we had software subscription to tactical arbitrage, but it was just a mess. And so Leland and I sat down and sort of hashed out some details, and he wrote a program for us where it would go out and scrape different websites, and we started finding really good products and profitable products for ourselves. From there, it kind of morphed into, let's start offering this, because we had a lot of products. Let's start offering this as a subscription service to other Amazon sellers. And this was around the time when COVID started hitting. And once COVID hit, we got a lot of interest from other people who were just sitting at home, not doing anything, wanting to learn the Amazon business, friends and family members. And so we started coaching them. And from there, the coaching program kind of took off. And the level of demand for it it blew both of our minds. And again, we had the warehouse, so then we started offering the prep and pack services for our coaching clients. I had employees, so it was a seamless transition. And as we grew, we kind of went from friends and family into, hey, let's have a bona fide coaching program for other Amazon sellers. But we didn't want to do it the way that everybody else, create 30 video clips or video modules, charge $1,000 for it, and that's it. For us, it was more of we need to do one-on-one coaching. We need to hold their hands, especially if they're brand new sellers or have been doing it and haven't found the success, because the learning curve is pretty steep. And so what we came up with was a one-on-one coaching program where we would do either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly calls with our clients. We would manage their account. And eventually, all of that has morphed into all-encompassing, if you just want to work with us, you can hire us. You would spend maybe 3 to 5 hours working on your business with the coach, with myself or Leland. And what will happen is the rest of it we can handle. We're through the online arbitrage leads list. We have a buying program where we can find and source products through our VAs for the clients. Prep Center will prep and pack it, ship it to Amazon, and the coach will help manage the Amazon Seller Central account. and we'll talk to the client on a one-on-one basis every week, every other week, or once a month to sort of manage working on the business and grow and make sure that all of the goals that we've set for our clients are reachable. So that's sort of the journey that I've been on. I'll let Leland speak for himself.
That sounds like organic, and also creating a turnkey solution to help customers streamline and make it a lot easier for customers to start selling. Leland, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background after Zuby just shared with us?
Yeah, happy to. And I'm so fortunate to work with a guy like Zuby. The humility for which he just showed right there, and maybe it's just memory or what it was, but I remember pulling up to Zuby's garage and seeing it packed full of stuff and starting that dialogue with him, getting the story about his wife venturing into it and how they were growing and then how he was stepping into it. And watching him get inspired by this led myself and my family to do the same thing, to where I'd like to think we were the first sort of people at the gate with Zuby for coaching. Because there was a time where my son really got interested. He had picked something up and I told him what we bought it for. And then he was seeing what we were selling it for and he was packaging up and he actually looked at me and he goes, "Is this legal? Can we actually do this?" I was like, "Yeah, this is what Z's been doing for X amount of time. And this is what we're going to do as a family." And he got really excited. But Matthew would call Zuby up. I would call him up. Our living room got full of all kinds of great stuff that we were doing. And so that was my entree, was seeing how excited Zuby was getting about this and the success he was having. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do this too. And for me at that time, it was a side hustle. And the more Zuby and I talked, he's a great business partner. He's got amazing ideas. And so things just started happening where we were like, what else can we do with this knowledge that he's gaining, the little bit of knowledge that I had with computers and technology? And yeah, it was very organic, and it's been an amazing process to sort of go up and down the value chain of this FBA, FBM world from its inception to now with all the other services. And I mean, this year we have other plans in play that I know I'm excited about. I know Z's excited about it. I mean, we're tired too, but it's one of those things where once we get to that place, it's going to be very exciting. So yeah, I'd like to think I was one of the first students of the FBA Zuby experience, but he's been a great mentor, a great coach, and a great business partner, and the ride continues. The other thing that was interesting when we were doing this in that organic process, and I mentioned the humility, and thanks for reminding me, Samuel. At one point, Zuby said to me, there should be something that we can do where we can give back too. And that's one of the things that's constantly part of not only, we're going to mention the businesses that we run, the products, the services, but there's this community that's slowly developing and it's real. It has real roots. It's in our Facebook page. It's in different meetups and other things that are happening where that's a real community. And if anybody joins some of these things, they'll see how much time, energy, and effort I put a little bit, Zuby puts in exponentially more. And I think that's part of his nature, is when he learns something, he wants to share it, right? So yeah, we're charging for the coaching and we're charging for the leads list, of course, but there's so much more that comes with it. And we're certainly not the guys on TikTok standing in front of the Lamborghini saying, come with us, and for $250, $250,000, whatever the number is, you can be like me and live in a mansion in 6 months, and everything's going to be great. It's very real, and it is what it is. It's a real community that's growing.
It's not a get rich quick thing by any measure of anything. And what we want to do, the reason why we were close friends, the reason why we've been able to turn that friendship into a business partnership, is because we think alike. We have the same ethics and the same morals. And making money is possible in many different ways. But once you make money, once you have some level of success, we both want to give back. We both want to be able to help those. And this is what happened in 2020 when COVID started. I made a post on my Facebook page. I'm not an influencer. I don't have followers, right? I just have friends and family members that are part of my Facebook page. So I posted, I said, look, I'm doing Amazon. If anybody out there has lost their job, needs something to do, reach out to me. I will be more than happy to teach you what I'm doing, or to see if you're looking for a job, I'm hiring, because I was hiring at the time. COVID, March of 2020 was the best month I've ever had in my business. Before or since it was the best month. That's saying a lot given the fact that Christmas time is usually just ridiculous. But that's how it started, was me just making that post. And there was so much demand for it, so many different friends. People that I have talked, that I would see on a regular basis, didn't know that I was doing an Amazon business. And people I haven't talked to since high school or since college reached out to me. And That's where the whole process started. And then once we were able to sort of help them, then we decided, hey, there's a certain niche that we can actually fill in here. There's something that's missing. So we structured it in such a way that we could monetize it as well and offer it to other non-friends and family members.
Zuby, could you tell me about like one person you helped through the Amazon business? Yeah, because there's a lot of people who lost jobs, especially, in the pandemic period of time. Could you just tell our audience like one person that you helped, where are they now? Yeah.
I have a few clients who are very near and dear to my heart. And this is outside of my friends and family. Friends and family, me helping them was just me helping them because they helped me, I helped them, right? But once we structured it into a coaching program, the first person that ever found us and reached out to us was someone that we weren't ready yet. We had created a leads list website, and we were in the process of figuring out what's the best way to market it. What's the best way to maybe do some advertising, maybe go out and try to see if we can partner up with other people within the business. And just randomly, I got a call one afternoon. And this gentleman, his name is Sherman, he reached out to me, and him and I had a very, like, one of those conversations that isn't, you don't talk to somebody like that right off the bat. When, we talked for maybe an hour and a half, and he signed up for a leads list, but then he also said, I want you to help me. He had just started his business and it wasn't really doing much. And then he is the one that a few months later just started marketing for us. I mean, to this day, we haven't paid a single dollar on advertising our coaching service or our leads list. We have never done PPC for it. We have a website and we have a podcast and YouTube channel and whatnot, but we have never paid to advertise our services. It's all been word of mouth. And the word of mouth started with Sherman. He's the one that went out there and sort of sang our praises to begin with. And to this day, he's with us. And, I talk to him on a weekly basis. And then my other favorite story is we had a single mom who became a coaching client of ours. And she had started her Amazon business, didn't know what she was doing and didn't know what to do with it. So we started coaching her. I started talking to her one-on-one, and she had a 12-year-old son who was always on the call when we're on speaker. He has become my protege. I mean, a kid he picked it up so quickly. He picked up the business, he picked up the vernacular, and he was on it. When he started working on his mom's account, I basically told her, I said, look, you need to step back. Let me just talk to your son. Vincent is my guy now. He's the one that, if you're ever on any of our meetups that are online or anything we do online, he's jumping on. I will always shout him out because he's now 13, the youngest client I have, but it makes me happy that I found someone like Vincent because he is young, but he's got that mentality and that mindset and just a little bit of guidance and nudging in the right direction. I can see the benefits of it in his life.
So you mean it's like even someone who's 12, 13, pretty young, they can still learn this. Like it's not rocket science. They're still able to learn this step by step for you guys. And then tell me a little bit more about the mentality. Like what kind of mentality do people need when they're getting into this business? Or they're already in the business and they want to grow to a even higher number of sales and to grow. What kind of mentality do they need?
It's a good question. Mindset is a huge part of success for anything you do. Right? Whether it is in business, personal relationships, whatever you do, you have to have a good, positive mindset. Like any other business, there's going to be ups and downs. When you first start out as an Amazon seller, learning curve is pretty steep. There are multiple different business models that you can pursue. Each one has its own learning curve. Each one has its own pitfalls. If you go into it expecting to get results right off the bat, and then you have a pitfall and all of a sudden you give up and you beat yourself up for, I made that mistake, or I did this wrong, or why isn't this happening? Hey, look, that guy showed me a Lamborghini, driving a Lamborghini. He's making millions of dollars in sales. Why can't I? Why am I not? That is a recipe for disaster. Having a long-term mindset, positive mindset towards your goals, and then having realistic goals. You always want to have 10x goals, but understanding that your 10x goal is your dream, your vision. What you want to do is actually achieve. If you do 2x, you're amazing. Done way more than you would have normally done. So having those specific goals and then having a game plan to reach those goals. It's very important. And as soon as you let your mindset turn negative, it's the beginning of a downfall that you need to prevent.
I think we've talked about this in the past in the different pods that we've done, but Zuby and I, again, are like-minded in this way. You have to have patience. You're building a retail business. So yes, it's online, and a lot of shortcuts have been taken for you by Amazon, right? You don't have to do a lot of the marketing. The marketplace is there for you already. So the mall is already built, if you will. But really, you need the patience that you're starting a retail business. So not the slower you go, but the more stable you make that core business, the longevity will then follow. And the other thing that both Z and I constantly talk about is moving the ball down the field. It can be incremental. It doesn't have to be done all today. Matter of fact, you can't really start. If you're just starting out, you can't do everything in one day. There's so many little steps before you even say get your Seller Central account up and running in a successful way or selling their first product. So it's having enough energy and then knowing the reality of what's about ready to unfold. If you have those things in place and you're incrementally setting these little toll gates, okay, I've set up the account, I got the right bank account in place, then the success of what happens afterwards will be way more stable than trying to do something quickly, fly by night, make it happen, and then run out of energy.
You're doing incremental growth and doing the things right. And that's why it's good to have somebody to guide you and lead you who's already been through that kind of the same process. So could you tell us a little bit about your own learning curve? Like, what was that like? We talked a little bit about learning curve just now.
Let me go first on that one. For me, it was very easy because a lot of the groundwork had been laid. And I think this is at the heart of the coaching platform. And you'll hear this a lot from a lot of our students, and there should be out there too. If you can, get somebody who's done all of the tributaries before and wasted a lot of time or had the hard lessons and listen to them. And sometimes that can just be in a good group setting, and other times it's with a coach. So I had the benefit of Coach Zuby over there running down the field before me.
Yeah, for me, the learning curve was pretty steep, but when I decided that I was going to do this, I didn't give myself an out. This was going to be my career. It took me not that long, actually, to realize the potential of being on Amazon. To me, it was the future. So when I decided, I jumped in headfirst. We started with an $8,000 investment initially, but we significantly increased that as I jumped in. And the more I learned, the bigger our accounts became. The more wholesale accounts I got, the bigger it got. But the learning curve is very steep when you start off, but if you dedicate yourself to it, right? Go there. There's a lot of really great YouTube channels. There's a lot of really great podcasts. There's a lot of really great Facebook groups, Discord groups, Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups. There is so much information out there. You just have to dive into it. Head first, dive into it and learn. Just read and learn, ask questions, answer questions. All of that is going to help. And then to me, the most important thing is find a mentor. Whether it's a paid coach or a mentor, if you're lucky enough to have somebody that would mentor you one-on-one, that's a friend or family, find someone that has done it so that even if you're not talking to them on a weekly basis, when those situations arise that could have a major impact on your sustainability as a business, you can run them past them. Right? You don't want to talk to them about every sourcing decision. You don't want to talk to them about, well, Amazon sent me this email. That stuff you can figure out on your own. But hey, I have the opportunity to purchase 20 pallets from a liquidator. Should I do it? What are the pros? What are the cons? Where can I get hung up on? How should I negotiate this? What are the things that I should discuss with them? That's how you grow your business. You need to find somebody who has done it before, who knows what they're doing, and then you sort of ask for their help. Asking for help is one of the most important aspects for any successful business owner. And a lot of people, especially men, but a lot of people in general, their egos sort of prohibit them from asking, but you should always ask, always.
Right. They're afraid to, look dumb or ask questions. So it's about having this mentality where you got to find out what you got to do, right? And having a mentor, you mentioned, people who's been there, who's done that before, saves you a lot of time and a lot of expensive mistakes. It also encourages you. Let me ask you guys this. Both of you are serial entrepreneurs. You guys have multiple businesses under your belt. Why Amazon? There's a lot of different business you guys done. You guys in finance for a long time as well, too. Why pick Amazon?
For me, Amazon was and continues to be the place to be if you want to be in e-commerce. It is hands down so far ahead of its second competitor, of all its competitors. But someone like Walmart, which is a behemoth, they are second in line behind Amazon, but they are so far behind Amazon. Amazon, they've become a trailblazer in the e-commerce world. The FBA program, when it came about, changed the whole game. The amount of traffic that Amazon generates just from people purchasing from them is, 20 years ago, it would be mind-boggling to think that one store could actually generate that much traffic. The way that Amazon's whole business model for its marketplace is completely customer-centric is the most amazing business strategy I've ever seen. They're obsessed with their customers. And because of that, they've earned their trust. And so now they open it up to other smaller sellers, larger sellers, and we can take advantage of their hard work. The customer acquisition for us is, if I had my own website where I'm selling products on my website, I wouldn't get 0.0001% of what my store gets on Amazon because Amazon's already done the work. Plus, the way of the future. I firmly believe, Leland can talk a little bit more about, and we might be getting a little off topic here, but I firmly believe that AI, VR, virtual reality, it's the way of the future. And I think that Amazon is going to be leading it. Right now, we're just on e-commerce. But when you go into the metaverse, when you go into the other parts of what's about to happen, I think that Amazon is in the forefront of that. And the future looks great for sellers as long as Congress leaves it alone.
Yeah, they're the 800-pound gorilla, right, Z? But even with a breakup, so let's say they do a breakup, I don't think the platform of Seller Central, FBA, FBM is going anywhere. It's too successful and it's moving too many products. And as a result of the pandemic, right, we're now deep into that reliance on getting our products delivered to our front door. Whereas before it was an option, you're a Prime member, okay, maybe I'll order a few things. Now it's like everybody expects that delivery with everything, food, medicine, they all want it to come to their door. So even if the breakup happens, I think this platform remains. And to answer your question, Samuel, Zuby and I were in Las Vegas for a convention, and this was many years ago. And they threw some numbers up there that were staggering on, and this is pre-COVID, before a big run up for that, it wasn't the $1 trillion company. It wasn't just the amount of eyeballs that were going on there, just the amount of people that were buying, the sheer volume, coupled with the fact that with a little bit of money and some patience, you can take that entrepreneurial spirit and you can make it a side hustle, or you can be like Z and make it your main hustle. And there's very few platforms that are out there that you can do it quickly and have it be sustained. Everybody can be an entrepreneur. Everybody can come up with an idea or try to get a side hustle. But the foundation is rock solid and it absolutely works. And for me, that's what sold me. Like, not only is it the sheer volume, but like Z said, it is the future. And you want to start something, this is something you can start. Very little capital, and you can start moving product through and see results.
How much capital do you need to get started on Amazon?
I love this question.
Go ahead, answer it. Take it away.
We have meetups once a month, and this question is always there. And it's great because that's the excitement of somebody new to the whole process. And it really varies on what you can do. We have our suggestions within the coaching platform. But if you want a hard number, like put your feet to the fire, it's going to be, $5,000 to $10,000 if you want to be successful. Can you come in with less? Absolutely. What you're going to find out is the fees and the process of getting going are going to chew into whatever that initial capital is. And the core of what you want to do is get inventory. That's the first thing. The most critical part is the rounds of inventory early on. So the more you can bring in early, the better experience you're going to have later, because you're going to have the multiplier effect quicker. So it's really variable. If you got $1,000, bring in $1,000. You got 500. We were on a call not too long ago where somebody had just a few products and they were starting to do it. It's possible. One was It wasn't a few, it was one.
She sold a old textbook. She made $100 off of it, and she was asking, what should I do with that $100?
Yeah, it's possible for her. It's just going to take much
It's not a living though, right? Yeah. In order to make any sustainable amount of capital back from an investment, the higher your investment, the higher your return should be. The thing with Amazon and selling on Amazon is there's a lot of variable costs. Amazon charges you referral fees and fulfillment fees and whatnot. And those variable charges are dependent on your sales volume. So if you get high sales, your variable charges go up. If you have low sales, your variable costs are low. But there's also fixed costs. As an Amazon seller, you should have a pro subscription. That's $40 a month that you're going to pay regardless of how much sales you had. We highly recommend a third-party repricer like BeCool. We highly recommend a software like Inventory Lab. If you don't use Keepa, we highly recommend signing up for Keepa. These are softwares that are necessary as you grow your business to automate things and make life a lot easier for you. And then if you have a coach or you pay for an online arbitrage leads list, all of these become fixed expenses. Your fixed expenses are not dependent on your sales. So you're going to have those expenses regardless, right? If you're doing retail arbitrage, your gas is a fixed expense. The stamps, the postage, the boxes you purchase, all of that are fixed expenses. So the higher your sales become, the less of an impact that fixed expense is going to have on your profitability, which is your ultimate goal. So because selling on Amazon is an inventory-based business, you want to have as much inventory as possible, the right kind of inventory, but as much of that as possible so that you can get that sell-through. There are going to be times when you purchase a product and then for whatever reason, it doesn't sell for 3 months or 6 months. You're stuck with that. That's your inventory sitting there, but you need to have additional capital to be able to continue having sales velocity, continue having that cash flow, continue being able to replenish your fast-selling replenishables and find new products that are going to become more and more profitable.
Because you talk a little bit about inventory, how do you avoid severe competition when you're sourcing for those inventory? And could you give our audience some tips about how you would do sourcing?
Severe competition is unfortunately part of the game, right? Competition is part of the game. There are times when if you're part of a leads list and that leads list is going out to 300 people, then you're going to have severe competition on those products. How to avoid it is Keepa is, in my opinion, without a doubt, a must for anybody who is doing online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, or wholesale. Because in order to know whether something is going to be profitable, you want to see how historically it's performed. And coming from an investment background, this is like looking at a stock chart to see, are there any seasonalities? How has this product's price been changing over the past month, 3 months, 9 months? Keepa gives you all that information. It also gives you how many sellers, how many offers were on that listing. So if you see a big spike on the number of sellers and then it drops off and stays down over the last year, then you know that maybe that was part of a leads list. Those sellers sold off, they got out, and now there's not that much. So learning how to read a Keepa chart is extremely important for a successful online arbitrage or wholesale business model on Amazon. If nothing else, spend the time to learn Keepa. We did a 3-part Keepa series on how to. It's on our YouTube channel for free. Just jump on there. There's also other really good Keepa videos and trainings out there. Learn Keepa. It will really help save you a lot of time and money.
You shared a lot about Keepa in those YouTube videos, but let's say just for a quick walkthrough, like if I was to price this cell phone case, what would be some of the steps that we would do? And what ROI do you suggest people to set for their mins and max?
We'll break those questions down a bit. For the ROI, if it's an item that is replenishable, you are going to go for a lower ROI because you can set a minimum ROI of 20% and you can purchase the product at the same price. Let's say you're buying it at $10, you're selling it at $20, you're making 30% ROI off of it, which is $3, right? So if that is going to be the case, regardless of anything else, you can always find the product at that price. You can sell it pretty much on average for that price. You're going to want to continuously replenish that and never run out of inventory. So what you would do is set your min at a little bit below that so that you can continue, because you have 30%, you can sell it at 20% and still be profitable and continue getting those sales. So as long as they're selling a lot and you're continuously able to replenish them, you can go down to 20%. On the other hand, if you found a video arcade game that weighs 900 pounds and you purchase it for $300 and it's selling for $3,000 on Amazon, you don't want to set your price down to 20% on that because you can't get another one for 300. So based on what you've seen on Keepa, you can see that this product has sold between 2,200 and 3,600 over the last 12 months. Well, you want to put your price up towards that $3,600 because if it's sold there before, chances are it's going to come there again. You don't have another one of this to send in, so might as well maximize your return on that sale. There's other factors to take into account, storage and shipping and all of that, but this is just sort of a very basic answer to your complicated question. As far as things that are how to price them, you look at the Keepa chart, and Keepa is going to show you a bottom line and a top line, right? And if The best case scenario is that bottom line where it has sold the lowest price that is sold over the last 12 months. If you're profitable at that price, what you're buying it for right now, if you sold it at that bottom price and you're profitable, that's a great product. It doesn't matter how much higher it goes because you can see it goes higher, you can get a lot more, but as long as you're profitable at that lowest price, it's a good buy. And then your pricing strategy based on how many units you purchased, can you replenish it again, and how many other offers are there, where in the life cycle of the product is it in right now.
Could you explain a little bit about the product life cycle?
So there are things that are products that are cyclical, right? They have specific cycles throughout the year. Christmas items, Halloween items, all the major things are cyclical. So if you are purchasing a product for, let's say you're purchasing gingerbread house cookies, you can purchase them in September and October with a very high confidence that they're going to sell out by December, right? Because those things are really popular during Christmas time. But if you purchase them in February, the life cycle of that product, the demand for it has already peaked. It's on the way down. So you don't want to purchase nearly as much of that product in February or March or April. Whereas come May, you may want to purchase it again because most people may not be aware of it, but there's such a thing as Christmas in July, and demand for that increases again. So understanding that cycle that product goes throughout a year helps you determine which products you should purchase, how many units, and when to purchase it. It also helps you understand your repricing strategy, because if it is December 22nd and you've got 100 gingerbread houses left in your inventory, it's time to sell. It's time to lower the price, lower demand, even if you just want the cash flow back, because it's not going to sell much further past that. So you want to get as many sales as possible in the next week or two. Whereas if it's July and you're selling rocking chairs for the outside patios, right? And nobody else has them right now because the demand is high, weather's getting warm. You want to raise your price. You don't want to keep it down. You want to raise them because demand is going to be there and supply has dwindled. So understanding the life cycle of the product and where it is during that year really will help you better understand your pricing strategy and your replan purchasing inventory strategies.
You talked a little bit about a repricer just then. What did you use before you used BeQool, and why did you start using BeQool?
I dabbled in a lot of repricers. I started off with Amazon's repricer, which any new seller should, right? I mean, I only had 10, 15, 20 SKUs. I started off with that. I don't want to name the other repricers because it wasn't intuitive for me. I jumped on BeQool early on, and then I switched out of BeQool and went into a couple of other repricers and soon realized that I should not have switched out. So I came back. We approached you and talked to you about how much we love using BeQool and wanted to sort of collaborate on our podcast and bring you guys on board. And we did a 3-part series specifically on BeQool for all of our audience and this was way before you guys brought it. I think you had just brought out AI. This was before you brought out the conditional repricing and a lot of the new features that you have on there. But for new sellers, if you are brand new, you should use Amazon's repricer. It's free, it's built in, it's not the best, but it's going to do the job. It's not going to cost you much. Once you have X number of SKUs, or once you have X amount of dollars to invest into inventory for yourself, that's when you want to go out and find a good repricer. For me, BeQool was not only the functionality was great, the entry level price point was just insane. I mean, $25 a month was the entry level. That anybody can afford that. And anybody that has been selling on Amazon for any length of time, if they haven't been using a repricer and then they use a repricer, there's other repricers and then I bring BeQool. No repricer, bring BeQool. The sales do have a significant spike because there's a lot of inventory, especially if you have a lot of SKUs that are just sitting there and you haven't had the time to go down the list one by one, figure out which one is doing what and changing your min and maxes. So definitely would recommend a third-party repricer. We recommend BeQool to all of our clients, and Leland can talk more about that.
That's what we recommend. And it's the same thing. We start them off with, I think, using the Amazon one early, you get the concept, and then it's like graduating to the table knife. And then you're able to use something more elegant and more versatile, like the BeQool options that are out there. And your sales are going to improve from it. And you're going to know your inventory better. I think that's the other part of this. Sourcing comes down to knowing your inventory, what's working, what's not working. We've done different podcasts and stuff on having an effective flywheel, which is just a way of inventory management, making sure you're buying, you're sourcing whatever you can that's replenishable, but testing it along the way so that you know what other things to put into the flywheel. And BeCool is a great tool for that because you get good data. I'm a huge data nerd. So anytime there's an abundance of data, I'm excited because you can begin to read in the tea leaves what's working and what's not working.
Why did you guys come back? Because you tried other repricers, you used BeCool, and then you switched to other ones. You came back. What was the reason you came back to BeCool?
The ease of use. The UI that you guys have is really simple and easy to use. The integration you have with Inventory Lab was probably one of the biggest sellers for me. There's a lot of other repricers where you have to download an Excel spreadsheet and upload your costs on there and upload it back. It just steps that you don't need to take. A repricer should do its job if it's repricing every 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever the plan calls for, right? And I think most of the other repricers that are in the industry have that functionality. They can do it. But the thing that, in my opinion, that sets BeCool apart is the UI is very, very user-friendly. And the integration with Inventory Lab grabs your costs automatically, so you don't have to worry about inputting your costs. And now with all the additional features that you guys have added to it, it's become, insane. Plus, your customer service is actually pretty damn good. I've tested out the customer service. You know that, Samuel.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So tell me, how has BeCool helped your business?
Oh, it's sales. I don't do any pricing changes or anything on Seller Central. Everything we do for all of our accounts is through BeCool. It makes things so much simpler. Being able to filter it based on ROI, based on, so many different filters. You guys have a whole list of them out there. It makes life so much easier being able to just quickly log on and look for what I need to look for, fix the things that I need to fix, my mins, my maxes, whatever it might be, and then know that my prices on Amazon are going to be changed within 5 minutes. It's just knowing all that is invaluable. Time is money in this business.
How much time has it saved you based on the large amount of SKUs and also your clients as well, too?
Yeah, a lot. So the account where we do online arbitrage and wholesale through, it's got thousands of SKUs. And so not having to go through all of them on Seller Central is a huge time saving. We recommend BeCool to all of our clients, and the ones that have switched over and from Amazon's built-in repricer to BeCool are extremely happy.
How has your buy box win percentage improved? What were they before and what about now?
Single digit to double digits. That's the easiest way I can explain it. It's gone. Again, I've been using BeCool for years now, so I don't know what my buy box percentage would be if I turned it off. But when I was not using it before we jumped on, we were not getting nearly as much sales. Our velocity was not nearly as high as it is now. And one of my favorite functions, and I don't know if the other repricers have this function or not, but ability to be able to turn off the repricer for an hour every day so that it resets. Once I learned that technique, and especially on specific SKUs or ASINs that I know are selling well for us, and there's only a certain few sellers, larger sellers, they do the same thing. It resets the buy box price to a much higher point every single night, and then it turns on the repricer again, and then we're competing again. But if 3, 4, 5 people are all that are on the listing, they turn off their repricer for an hour. Whoever's repricer is on is just going to go to its max. So when everybody else gets turned back on, your sales are going to start from up here. And even though the battle is going to start again, it's not the ability to get higher sales and higher profit margin just from that one little tweak is something that has had a major impact on our profitability.
Well, that's fantastic. So how do you pick your rules for profitability? Like, what are some of the things to consider?
It's all about each SKU, right? Depending on what inventory you have and what your desire and goal is. Why did you purchase it? If it's a replenishable, you can go with lower ROI and just, you use the rule, you have the AI just maximize your sales, and it's going to go up against whoever has the buy box. As long as that person has a higher price than yours, you're going to beat them and get the sale. Alternatively, if you have inventory that you're not going to be able to replenish, or you think that the buy box, either the buy box doesn't exist or a merchant fulfilled person has it, but you know that Prime is the number one filter on Amazon, you can just pick a rule that only competes against the prime sellers. And that way you can have the lowest prime offer and get those sales without needing to compete against the merchant fulfilled seller who's probably 10, 20, 30% lower than your current price.
What's interesting is now with the conditional repricer, you could actually switch between the rules. So you could switch, depending on how the ASIN is performing. And you talked a little bit about some liquidation strategy. Like if the products aren't selling after a certain time, for example, the gingerbread houses, if it's past December, then you could actually make the rules a lot more aggressive. And what I want to ask you is, what do you do with products that aren't selling? Like, what's your strategy? Like, is there a certain time when you think like, okay, we got to break even, we got to just get rid of these products? Because you talked a little bit about cash flow earlier.
That's a good question. That every seller is always going to have products that become duds. They're not going to sell. And we have sort of two different approaches to them, or three different approaches to them. The first is liquidation. If the sales are there, in other words, if the BSR is low enough to where there's going to be sales coming in, we would just lower the price. Our goal is always not to hit the 271-day mark on Amazon. That's when the new, medium-term storage fees kick in, $1.50 per cubic foot. So we want to sell out before that, ideally within 90 days, but no more than 270. So we have different rules for every 90-day period that the inventory is in stock on Amazon. So once it hits to 180 to 270 mark, we really get aggressive to try to sell out and get the cash flow back. With that said, there's going to be times when, for whatever reason, a product that was selling at a BSR of 30,000 is now become a product selling at BSR of 3 million. Whatever, maybe it got suppressed, maybe there was some issue with the listing, maybe a brand new version of that product came out. And now you have inventory that's sitting there. You have the buy box. You're the lowest seller. There might not be any other sellers on there, but there's just nothing happening. Nobody's coming into that listing. So then we identify first, we also have stores on Walmart, and we use WFS and other marketplaces. And so we go out and inspect to see if those products are selling or selling well on the other marketplaces. If they are, then we recall them. Have them come back to the warehouse. We prep them and ship them back to WFS or wherever we think they're going to sell at. If not, if they're high ticket items, we recall them and donate them. If they're low ticket items, we just have Amazon disposable.
Got it. Yeah. So you also go on other platforms to see if those products could be moved, if the price is okay, or you find a way to discharge them. So talking about that, like what parts of the job can you outsource and which ones do you need to do yourself?
It's funny. So this is a great topic that I have a very particular viewpoint on outsourcing. So in theory, you can push everything to some other service that can help you do this. You can insource it, if you will, or near shore or same shore, however you want to put it. Within our coaching program, we have a buying program, which means, if you're part of that coaching program at the highest level, you've been doing it for a while, you can really be hands off to the entire process. And at Good Success, we've had a lot of demand on that. So for those people, they've outsourced pretty much everything. They're not buying. It's their account. They can manage their account, but they're not worried about sourcing. They're not worried about returns. Everything's being handled for them. It's all hands off. So that's a great case scenario, but there's costs associated with it. So it's really going to boil down to, what are you comfortable doing? How much control do you want to give away? And the reason I was kind of making the face and doing all that stuff, and I'm sure that was bothering Zuby, getting all animated, everything, is I think in a lot of industries, and it's part of my background, there's this notion of, I'll give it to a VA. And that can be, it's virtual. So maybe it's offshore, maybe it's not. But, you're just throwing it over the magic fence and it gets taken care of. And I think there's some danger in doing that, only because the person that you're giving it to needs the proper SOP. There needs to be operating procedures that are in place that they can follow. And then there has to be contingencies. So if you have one VA and they're in, I don't know, the Philippines, you have to understand how many dozens of holidays there are, which means you're going to be dark. So if you need them Monday through Friday, every day to do something, you have to understand that there's going to be dark days there. So there's a little bit of danger to the magic of outsourcing, or just give it to somebody else. But going back to sort of technology, if there's a solution that's, the machine doing it, they're never going to sleep. Like the repricer, the AI ability of the repricer, these are things that you can throw over the fence and I think you can be very comfortable with. But if you're thinking about, let's say, a VA who's going to do your sourcing for you, if you need them every day, they're going to need the right documentation, the right training. So short answer is, everything if you can afford it, everything if you're okay giving it away, and you know what the results are going to be, and you have contingency plans in case something goes down. But I think it really varies depending on the person who's doing this. And again, that organic growth that we went through as FBA Profits, we kept stepping in and taking different pieces and realizing if we can automate this, if we can do certain things to make it functional and long term, we can take this off the plate of somebody else so they can make this be, sustainable, but then also something they don't have to be involved with every single day.
Well, I threw that at Leland because I wanted him to give the general answer. I'll give you my sort of a lot more focused answer. The number one thing that I think every single seller, in order to scale and grow, they need to outsource, and that's the prep work. Doing your own prep work is it's such a time constraint. It just eats up so much of your time. Whether you're doing this part-time or full-time, as a side hustle or as your main hustle, you need to find a good prep center and you need to outsource your prep work to them, because the time it takes to accept boxes, open boxes, empty them, list them on your Amazon account, then you figure out what the prep is, labeling, polybagging, bubble wrapping, boxing, set labeling, bundling, all of that stuff. It's so much work. It's so time consuming and it's minuscule work. Like it's kind of work you don't want to do. You want to work on your business and grow your business. You don't want to sit there putting labels on there, although we all have done it. We would sit there. It was my wife, myself, and my two kids. We would sit there, put on a movie in the living room, on the floor, in the dining room floor, on top of the tables, and we'd just be sticking labels on products, right? This is when we first started. But that's not a sustainable thing. In order for you to grow your business, in order to scale the business to a significant level, you have to outsource prep and pack services. It's one reason why right now our prep services, our prep facility, although we have openings and we're growing it, we just doubled our space and we're looking to expand even more. The demand is ridiculous because people are understanding that they cannot continue doing this themselves. They have to find a prep service or a prep facility that can do this for them. So the number one thing to outsource is that.
I take advantage of you. I just take it for granted that prep and pack is always there.
So tell us about your prep center. Like, what's the process? How does it work? Like, if I'm a Amazon seller and I want to outsource this part, how does it work?
The website for it is westcoastfbaprep.com. You just fill out the form and send it over. I will most likely be the one that reaches out to you. The process is very simple. We've tried to make it as sort of seamless as possible. Our client list ranges from the small sellers that are doing 100 units a week to large sellers that are sending us, half container full of products in pallets to prep for them. So we have different tiers for the larger quantities. But if you're a new seller or an existing seller that's doing less than 5,000 units a month, just reach out to me. The pricing is already on the website. You can see it. Our general pricing is 99 cents for prepping. All you would do is we would set up an account for you. You would give us user permissions to your Seller Central account and employee permission to your Inventory Lab account if you have one. And then you just start sending all your products to us. We have a software that upload all the information about the products that you've purchased to send over to us. And we would update that sheet with what we have received, so that way you can see if there was any discrepancies, anything broke, anything didn't come, and then we would put how much the cost of the prep was, what the prep was, how much the cost of it was, and how many units we shipped out. And that's it, and get invoiced every time a shipment goes out.
Do you pick up the items or the customers find a way to send it to your prep center?
We don't do retail arbitrage. There has to be, whether it's online arbitrage, wholesale. We do have freight companies that we work with or larger clients that need, a shipment picked up from a distributor or a manufacturer or from the port. But the online arbitrage stuff is you just order from whichever site you're ordering from, and you just have the ship to address as our address.
And then you guys will pack it up, send it with all the correct labeling. So tell me, as a new seller, when should I do things myself and when should I start using a prep center? Like, at what stage?
You should do it yourself for as long as you're trying to learn the process. Right? You should know what the process is like. You should have an idea of what it feels like to get a package in the mail, open it up, figure out how to list it on Amazon, whether you're using Inventory Lab or Seller Central, figure out how to figure out what the prep requirements are, get the polybag, get the label maker, whatever it needs to do, and actually do the work. So that way you have understood it, right? It's not just a foreign thing that you've outsourced to somebody. You understand it, and then you're now ready to grow your business, scale your business. You don't have time to continue spending, prepping and packing. Then you outsource it right off the bat. If you don't have the money, the inclination, or the time to do it yourself, you should outsource right off the bat. Prep and pack, hands down, the number one thing that you should outsource because of the fact that it is a hindrance on your time in order to succeed. Those hours that you're spending prepping and packing, you could spend sourcing. You could spend learning, finding new wholesale suppliers, finding new suppliers, going through another leads list, finding new inventory. So the easiest thing to outsource, and it's something that we'll highly recommend everybody to do so. Not necessarily to my prep center, but to any prep center, just find one, but outsource it.
And for our audience, make sure to stay till the end. We have a very special promo from Zuby and Leland with the Prep Center they recommend. So stay till the very end. So tell us, how many hours do you put into your business every week? This is the Amazon, part of the business at the beginning. And what about now?
I know Leland wakes up at 4 a.m.
Well, if we're talking about the FBA side, again, Zuby was ahead plowing the road clear. So best practices were already laid. So I did everything he suggested, do it myself. We did it as a family. So we understood the process. The garage got full and we realized Prep Center makes sense. When there were shipments that needed to go out and we were realizing we're spending more time on something else, time for the Prep Center. So there was a great deal of time on sourcing, trying to understand where we were going to go, where we're going to do RA, OA as it showed up, that kind of stuff. It's almost zero now. Now it's management, which is great. A few hours a week, being able to maintain that account. If we're talking about FBA profits, that's a labor of love. So it's almost immeasurable. It can be countless hours, the waking up at 4 a.m. and editing videos like when you joined us with Eric on our YouTube, and then the podcast, that was great. And then there's late nights like tonight, and it just varies. But we're talking about two different things. One's that core seller central FBA, and then the other is this labor of love.
Like you said, I wake up at 5 a.m. I'm at the office probably by 7:30, and I leave usually by about 7:30. So between 10 to 12 hours a day I'm here, but it's not about I'm doing my Amazon FBA seller accounts. I've got a lot of other opportunities, a lot of other synergetic businesses that we've started, synergetic opportunities. I'm working with an amazing group out of Miami. We just started working with them. And that's the one great thing about this business, is that if you sort of jump into it and you put yourself out there and you start meeting people, there's a lot of really, really smart people who are open, who you can collaborate with. And that collaboration can lead to so many other opportunities. It's not just about selling a widget on Amazon. It's about building a business that you can then grow and scale, not just straight up, but you can do it sideways. You can have other businesses that come in and sort of have different prongs to them and grow them all together. So if you have that entrepreneurial mentality, there's a lot of things that you can do in this market.
If you can give yourself and our audience 3 tips from when you first started, what would that be?
Outsource to prep, find a coach and work with them, and then understand your numbers. Understand, your cost of capital is, understand what your profitability is, your expenses. There's a lot of people that have the concept of borrowing money to run a business is not up there. But if the cost of capital is low and you've built a sustainable business that you can go back and say, hey, I've been making 20% on this, 30% on this business regularly, and the government is offering me a 2% loan of $150,000, you take that all day long and invest it in your business, because you're able to make that 2% make you 30%, 40% return. So understanding the numbers, understanding the value of capital that you can raise or that you can borrow, making sure that your cost of capital, those things are very important. Leland?
I echo what you say, even the last part, even though I know you think I wasn't going to. I would just add 2 things. That's a deep reach there. One is to be patient. Be patient with this process. Not consider it, in getting running, but then also that it's not an ATM machine. The success will come down the road. And the second thing is really find the community that fits you. There's so many different groups and people out there that are exactly where you are. So you create sort of the bond of like marching together with the same your peers. And then there's those who are ahead of you. And we see it in our groups all the time that are very forthright in giving information and letting you know that, yeah, I've been through that. Yeah, I've done a private label. Yes, I've done a wholesale account. And they're willing to help you, that it's not this cutthroat, I got to sit in an isolated room, figure this out on my own and march forward, that there's really large pockets, large groups of people that are open to helping and sharing what they've been through. So I'd get into that much earlier than I did.
Community is key.
Yeah, thanks for those tips. What's your future plans for your Amazon business? Another question is, why should our BQual customers, like in our audience, why should they take your coaching services?
Our future plans is to go to the moon.
I'm in.
I don't know. Both Leo and I are working on a number of different initiatives. He's taking the leads on some stuff, I take the leads on some stuff, but there is a lot of opportunities out there for, like I mentioned earlier, collaboration with other groups, and that's what we're focusing on right now. The coaching platform, we're looking at expanding it from not just one-on-one coaching, but start having some video modules that as part of the one-on-one coaching, that in conjunction with the calls, we would have video modules that our clients can go through. And based on our experience over the last few years, what we've seen and the questions we've received, we're starting to build a whole vault of different informational video series that we're going to be releasing to our clients. And as far as why they should hire us, there's a lot of really good coaches out there. There's a lot of really good, knowledgeable Amazon sellers who are offering the service. If you jive with my personality or Leland's personality, come with us. If you jive with somebody else's, go there. It's wherever you're comfortable, because I know what I know and I can teach you. I have taught other people, as has Leland, but my personality might not be the best fit for you. So if your personality is such that you say, you know what, he's not the guy for me, by all means, go find somebody else, but find someone. Find a mentor, find a coach that you can respect, whose vision you can fall behind, and who can help you take that exponential leap up on your Amazon business. We're just one of service providers out there. There's some really good ones, there's some really bad ones. Do your research on the good ones. Honestly, it doesn't matter which one of us you go with, as long as you pick somebody and you are comfortable with them and you actually take the time to learn from them and put in the work that's needed to grow your business.
Reminds me of a conversation we had early on when we were talking about coaching and how to scale it and how we wanted to do this in a paced, set, but informative manner. And it was the mustard seed, if you will, of the podcast. So if you ask, why should the BQual? I agree with Zuby. You jive, you don't jive. And go listen to the FBA Profits podcast. Listen to us talk about these topics and some other ones, and see if it makes sense. See if it fits. It won't for everybody. Just to cap on what Zuby said, there's other coaches. Some of them give it away for free. TikTok's full of guys giving free advice on this. YouTube is too. You may find somebody that you jive with on there also. So it's not like we're the only shop in town or the only one doing it right. There's lots of options, but definitely check out the podcast and good information there. You might not even need a coach from that perspective, but if you choose to, and utilize that plowed road sort of the way I did, we're here and ready.
And my goal with the coaching program, and Leland and I had talked about this when we first started out, the financial side of it is not substantial. We're not getting rich being coaches, right? But what we're trying to do is to build a community of like-minded people that we have helped, and that they're part of our hemisphere, we're part of their hemisphere. And we can then, once they've gone past the beginner stages, right? Now they've hit their 6-figure sales, they've hit their 7-figure sales. Now we can start collaborating. And now we can really maximize all the time and effort we've put together to really build up a very robust community of sellers that can, if I can afford $100,000 in inventory 1 month, and I have 10 other people who can afford $100,000, we can get together and go and buy $1 million worth of inventory. Our buying power, the amount of discounts we can get. There's so much that you can do when you have a trustworthy group of people within your community. And that's one of our main goals, is to build that community where we have earned their trust and they've earned our trust. And now we can go beyond just being coach and client, beyond just being an Amazon seller and actually doing things together to grow both of our businesses.
Yeah, I really like that, where you can partner up. And what I like about your program is you also have a buying program, and then you also have a prep and tax service. So it's kind of like a whole turnkey solution. You can start out, do the coaching, and then you'll know what kind of products that you can sell. And then along the way, you guys been through it. You guys have gone through those same things, and you can actually help people from your personal experience. So I really like that. The last thing we want to share with our audience, is there any special promotion for our BQual customers?
Yes, we talked about this earlier. So we're going to offer 20% discount. We have 3 different coaching programs. We call them the FBA launch programs. 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. You can see them all in our website, fbaprofits.com. We would offer for anybody listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube video or anybody that you guys refer with your referral code, 20% off for the life of the account. The only caveat being that because this is going to be on the internet forever, presumably September 30th to 2022 will be the deadline to get this promo. So that's about 2.5 months worth of time to get that promo. And then on the prep side, we will offer 20% off any service on our prep and pack. So if you become a prep client and you mention BCool20 as your promo code, we would give you 20% off for all the prep services for as long as you're with us. Again, as long as you submit and become a client before September 30th, 2022.
Well, that's amazing. That's a very generous offer. For all of our listeners, make sure to contact Zuby and Leland for their coaching service and take advantage of the prep and pack services that they offer. And this is only limited to before September 30th, right before the busy Q4 season. Thanks for your time today, Zuby and Leland. We look forward to talking to you again, and we wish you the best success for your businesses. Thank you.
Thanks, Samuel. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel.